Good morning, everyone. Let's get to it. Buenos dias. We are now in Exodus, and we're reading in chapter 24 in our daily devotion. We're walking through it. Verse 9 of chapter 24, Moses and Aaron, Nadab and Abihu, and the 70 elders of Israel went up and saw the God of Israel. Under his feet was something like a pavement made of lapis lazuli, as bright blue as the sky. But God did not raise his hand against these leaders of the Israelites. They saw God and they ate and drank with him. That was the sealing of the covenant of the law. Remember yesterday we talked, blood was shed when they made covenants, and then it had been sprinkled on the people. The blood was sprinkled on the sacrifice. And now here we have them finishing it with a meal with God. What did they see, by the way? Nobody can see God. They saw some manifestation of God. No one can see God. He's everywhere at once. He's incomprehensible. So the commentators are not exactly sure, but it was some manifestation of the Almighty in amazing glory. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Come up to me on the mountain and stay here, and I'll give you the tablets of stone with the law and the commandments I have written for their instruction." Then Moses set out with Joshua, his aide, one of the first mentions of Joshua. And Moses went up on the mountain of God. He said to the elders, "Wait here for us until we come back to you. Aaron and Hur are with you, and anyone involved in a dispute can go to them." And Moses went up, the cloud covered it. The glory of the Lord was on it for 6 days. That glory rested, I'm paraphrasing. To the Israelites, the glory of the Lord looked like a consuming fire on top of the mountain. And then Moses entered the cloud, and he stayed on the mountain 40 days and 40 nights. Then he came back down and said, the Lord said to Moses on the mountain, "Tell the Israelites to bring me an offering. You are to receive the offering from me from everyone whose heart prompts them to give." And then he gives a long list of all the materials that were needed to build the tabernacle. So let's summarize some things here, shall we? Moses goes up and he communes with God all alone, top of the mountain. And that is where the Shekinah, the manifestation of God's glory, which was a fiery cloud, a glorious cloud. Obviously, we can't fully describe it, but it's what's going to end up resting above the Holy of Holies in the tabernacle, which we're getting to. And that is God's presence dwelling with all the people in the center. And Moses was up in there. He went higher. He went higher. The others had to stop. He went higher. There's a good lesson for us in that, sometimes to get closer to God, you have to go a little further. You can't just stay in your typical pattern of living. You got to go a little higher, a little deeper, more time, more desperation with God. It's how you get closeness with God. Not everyone's the same distance, obviously, from God. Some are much more intimate. So notice now when he comes down off the mountain, he's on the mountain. God says, when you come down off the mountain, collect an offering because the tabernacle is going to be built, but I don't need money. Money wasn't used then, and there were no stores to buy, no Amazon Prime, nothing. So what you have to do is get the materials from the people. Gold, silver, fabrics, animal skins. He said, collect it from everyone who has a heart to give. No coercion. Everyone who has a heart, the Hebrew actually is, who almost feels driven to give. They so honor me, they so worship me, that they want to be a part of this. Isn't that a good way for giving to be done? Not tricking the people, coercing, all these swindlers with their seed faith, giving on Christian television, getting money for themselves. They never say give to a missionary. They never say give to your local church. Isn't that also giving to God? No. Got to come to them. I wonder why. Wonder why. So, but your heart had to be in it. Because why did God want to collect this? Because he was going to give instructions now to build the tabernacle. So let's just get an overview of what the tabernacle was. It wasn't a building. It was a structure that was portable, and a lot of it was open to the air. And let's imagine a football field, but it was smaller than that. But it was a rectangle, and there was tent material and an opening on the east end and high tent material going around with poles and beams and all kinds of things. They had needed wood. So that was the perimeter of it, right? And you came in through the east, okay? And Israelites could come in through that entrance. And there was a courtyard, again, open to the sky. And there was an altar there. The first thing was an altar of sacrifice, the brazen altar. And that's where the people could come, bring their sacrifices for their own sins or their own thanksgiving, give it to the priests. Now the Levites, that one tribe, were going to serve as the priests to carry on all that work. Imagine all that work, all the killing of all those animals, laying it on there, shedding the blood, killing the animal, burning the animal. Fires were going up all day and all night. Later on, as you walk past that, no one could walk past that but the priests. There was a laver, a big fountain where they would have ceremonial cleansing and bathing. When you went past that, now you hit another rectangular building, but that was a building with a roof on it, had 2 compartments in it. The first compartment was called the holy place. When you went past that, past the veil, there was furniture in there, which we're going to learn about. You went past that veil. Nobody went past that veil, not even the priest. Just the high priest, once a year, on the Day of Atonement, Yom Kippur. And he would one day a year offer sacrifice on the furniture that was in there, which we're going to learn about, the Ark of the Covenant. So you get it. You got to see it. You got to see it, all right? So it's a rectangle. It's open air, except for those buildings within the rectangle. It's made of tent material and goats, skins, and all that. And when you walk in, there's a brazen altar. Why? You got to you got to take care of sin. First thing, there got to be sin covered by blood, only blood. You got to kill animals. Blood's got to be shed. Then past that, only the priests. We're going to learn about all that. So this was going to be set up, portable, and every place Israel went, they had to pull that thing together. On all the furniture, there were rings on the side and poles. You didn't go touching it. Put the poles in and the poles moved it. So let's say you were 1 month in one spot and now you had to move. So the Levites those in charge of moving it, there were different duties for everyone, and now they would move it. And now the tribes would follow and would go with it. And then when they settled, the clouds stopped moving, and God said, this is where I want you to stay. They set up the tabernacle, the perimeter, right? Set up those buildings, portable, they could rebuild them. And then the brazen altar and everything else, the furniture. And they put that in the middle of the camp. 3 tribes on one side, 3 tribes on another, 3 tribes on another side, 3 tribes on another side. And this is over 1 to 2 million people. But in the center was God, his presence. And that's what made them special to all the other peoples in the Middle East. The presence of God was with them. Moses would say later on, who is like unto God's people, where God dwells among us? He doesn't visit us like he did Adam and Eve in the garden or visited Noah. He lives among us. His presence among us makes us different than everyone else. And now what's our lesson for today? He doesn't dwell in a building. There's no instructions for church buildings found in the New Testament, because God doesn't dwell in a building. He dwells in the church, la iglesia, which is made up of people. The church is human. And we are the temple of the living God, and he dwells among us. And if we're attentive to him and we yield to him, he manifests his presence in the church, in the gatherings, and in our lives, because we are also individual temples. Comprende, no comprende? You get it? God doesn't dwell in a building. There's no sacred buildings. There's no sacred altars. Prayers aren't answered closer when the altar than from the top of the balcony. Nothing to do with Christianity. No instructions about building it. No, we're going to build a prayer tower. Why? You got to get closer to God. You can go in a basement and God will hear you just as good. It's not about distance and furniture. It's about worshiping Him in spirit and in truth. Thank God that He dwells now, today, through Jesus Christ, through the Holy Spirit, in the midst of His people. God bless you.